Hello, I'm Alexa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have with me Theresa Lee, and we're going to be talking about UX internships. Theresa Lee is a third-year psychology and business student at the University of Waterloo. She's currently finishing up her internship at PlanGrid as a product designer right here in San Francisco. Theresa grew up in Toronto, where she's also interned at Royal Bank of Canada and Veeva Systems as a UX design intern. I've met a lot of Waterloo students since living here and working in tech. It seems like a lot of people come out here for internships in tech, and so what is that experience like going to school and doing the internship stuff?
Yeah, Waterloo's known for their co-op program, which is their cooperative education program. And as a result of that, every couple of months you rotate between school term and work term. So we get a lot of opportunities to do internships in different places depending on where we can get jobs, including out in California.
So you are studying psychology and business, not UX, not interaction design, right? So how did you get your first UX internship?
My first internship, which was not actually part of the co-op program, it was just the only summer that I got off, and I worked at the bank, Royal Bank of Canada. And I learned about UX internship because there were a bunch of interns running around the floor, and one of them was like, oh yeah, I'm doing I'm a UX intern. And it was described to me at the time as graphic design with psychology, which is not what it is at all. But I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I'm into graphic design and I'm studying psychology. That seems super on brand. And I learned more about it, and I was like, actually, this is something that I could see myself doing.
Okay, so you were at the bank, you're working in a different internship, heard about UX design, and somehow got yourself a UX internship at the bank?
Yeah, so the group that I was working under at the time, I was doing just regular business analyst-y intern stuff, making PowerPoints, spreadsheets, that stuff. The group that I was working for at the time was called Enterprise Architecture, and within that group, there were a lot of other subgroups that were architecture-y groups. And in working for the larger enterprise architecture group, I got to know a lot of different people working in the smaller subgroups, including the manager of the digital experience architecture group. Yeah. Oh. So then when I found out about UX and learned more about what it was, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, do you need an intern? I had a return offer at the time to come back to the bank doing the same role, and I was talking to the recruiter and being like, is there any way that I could get a return offer but for a different role within a different team? And so the recruiter, the digital experience architecture manager, and my previous manager did a lot of back and forth emails to figure it out, and yeah, it all worked out, thank God.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So somehow you ended up at PlanGrid, which is a company out here in San Francisco. Can you talk a little bit more about that story and how you got that internship?
The way that you typically apply for co-op jobs is there's an internal job board if you're a Waterloo student, and it opens up after the first 2 weeks of your new semester. Say your internship ends at the end of April and you go back to school in the beginning of May. Mid-May, this job board will open up, and you'll have about a week to apply to the first round of all these jobs that are posted. Yeah. So within the first round, not a lot of them were design jobs. I think there are more and more that are being posted now, but the term that I was looking, I think there were about maybe 10 to 20 UX design jobs in total.
Wow.
So not many, and a lot of students trying to compete for those. PlanGrid was one of the companies that posted. You can also see where the company is based, and they posted in San Francisco, and I was like, ooh, San Francisco, I would love to be out there and escape Toronto. So I went through the typical interview process with them, where I did a portfolio screening. After they're all the rounds of interviews are done with whatever company you're interviewing for, there will be a period that's the ranking period. So the companies will rank you from 1 to 10. 1 means that they really want you, and 10 means that they absolutely do not want you.
Okay.
If you're ranked a 1, you can only rank one person a 1, but you can rank as many people anything from 2 to 10 as you want.
Okay.
That will happen, the rankings will get released, the students will get to see them, and then you rank the companies from 1 to 10 as well.
Yeah, interesting.
Again, same thing, 1 means you really want them. So I got ranked by PlanGrid, but I did not get ranked 1. And then I heard through the grapevine, because I have mutual friends, that someone I knew who also interviewed for the role got ranked number 1, and he was gonna take it. So I was like, oh man, I need to get the job. Kept looking, kept interviewing, and then it was March, and I still didn't have a job lined up for May because I was trying to be really picky about where I wanted to work. I kept in touch with the 2 people who interviewed me at PlanGrid because I was hoping that I could work them the next term. And then one of them reached out to me on Twitter based off of a tweet that I said about how I still didn't have a job. And she was basically just like, hey, are you still looking for an internship? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, not to get your hopes up, but one of the engineering teams like didn't fill out like their co-op quota budget. They basically had leftover budget to hire another co-op. They were like, we're gonna see if we can get engineering's budget and like move it to design and hire a second co-op. And I was like, okay. Wasn't really holding my breath that much. And then like 2 or 3 days later, they messaged me again and they were like, yeah, so we got it approved. And I was like, wait, what?
That's amazing.
They were like, we would like to start your visa process as soon as possible if you're still like interested in us. And that's how I ended up here for the first time last summer.
You were like, yes, please.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh,
I'm on it.
is this real?
I love that because a lot of this just comes down to relationships. I think that was smart. Like you were thinking next term.
Right.
But sometimes stuff like that can happen.
Yeah.
And as long as you put yourself out there, you've created that opening.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's amazing that you did that. And so happy for you. So you were balancing all of this sort of like logistical craziness on moving to a new country on top of preparing for a new job, right?
Right.
So like what was, I don't know, the day before your first day at PlanGrid, like what was that like? How did you prepare for being a UX product design intern there?
Honestly, I can't really remember because I think I moved to San Francisco like 2 days before. Yeah, the Sunday before my first day was just me exploring like my neighborhood and the city. And I knew that the first week was like all gonna be orientation. So thankfully there wasn't much to prepare on my end. I just kind of like walked in blind, I guess.
Yeah.
I read like all of the documents that HR sent me, like the entire itinerary, memorized like where the actual office was on Google Maps.
Can you speak a little bit more about what is PlanGrid? What are you designing for and what type of experiences are you designing?
They kind of digitize the entire construction experience. So there's a lot that goes into construction in terms of documentation. So there's like the physical blueprints of a construction site itself, but there's also a lot of like field reports and like documents and things that need to be documented because I found out that in construction, suing is very common and most of this documentation needs to exist for legal reasons. So when companies get sued because things are delayed, people are not being paid because a company had to work overtime and that overtime wasn't promised, like why did that overtime happen? Whose fault was it? Whose pocket is this essentially like coming out of? All of these things need a reason, and so documentation is very important, but also in terms of like just the blueprints itself. One of our co-founders is this like really tiny 5 foot something female, right, who used to work in construction, and literally her boss, I believe, gave her a shopping cart to carry around the blueprints around a construction site because they get really heavy because they're like they can get thick and they're huge, right?
Yeah.
And having to carry them around like a large field gets really tiring.
What area did you specifically work on?
I kind of touched every part of the product. Sorry, so also to give you context, I was there last summer from May to August. I also came back this past January and I've been here since January and I will be leaving at the end of this month, which is August. So last summer I worked on a product called RFIs, which is Request for Information.
Okay, from just the last 8 months, what do you think is one really important lesson that you learned from being a product design intern?
I think the biggest thing, and everyone says this and it's so cliche, but it's so true, which is like just ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions and be curious. Especially as an intern, I think you have a lot of leeway to make mistakes and people are more willing to help you out and mentor you and guide you because you are an intern.
All right, so my last question for you is what advice would you give to someone who's currently looking for a UX internship?
I would say to just hustle. That can encompass a lot of things, but just if you want it, you know, like go for it. Like do all the things that you need to do to get there. Look at all the online resources, reach out to people, you know, really put effort into your portfolio and effort into your resume and applying and just like keep trying and don't, you know, give up. And I think that you will be surprised by how much you can accomplish if you set your mind to something.
I love that because I get a lot of comments. People are like, I have this and this background. Can I be a UX designer? Yeah. Like if you want it enough, you can have it.
Yeah.
You just need to put your mind to it, right? Just gotta hustle.
To that point, I think a lot of people in UX are not from a design background. So especially if you are from a different background, I think that you can bring a lot of insights and perspective into designing for whatever you're designing for. That's gonna be like very valuable. So don't let that be like a deterring factor at all.
So Theresa, you have a YouTube channel.
Kind of.
Alright, so to give you an update, basically, I got a job in California, so I will be there this summer, like I'll be in San Francisco this summer.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I started by just like vlogging because I loved like just vlogging, like watching my vlogs back and like seeing what I did with my friends and stuff. That became a way for me to like produce content, get better at like video editing. Kind of became bored with it because I found it to be like very monotonous, and I was like, okay, I need to like get new inspiration and like really figure out what I'm trying to do here and be more intentional about the content that I want to put out. So it's been on hiatus for a little bit, but it's coming back.
What are your videos going to be about?
Actually, within the next month, I am going to be in Seoul in Korea. I'm moving out there for 4 months. I'm taking a term off of school because I just wanted to live there, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I don't know, a lot of content on like from the perspective of a Korean American.
And I'll include a link in the description for Theresa's channel. Is there anywhere else people could find you online if they wanted to connect?
Twitter. You can follow my Twitter.
All right, I'll link that the design Twitter in the description as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet. So yeah, Theresa, thank you so much. This was excellent.
Thank you so much.
And I think I need to try that again. All right, that's it. Thank you again, Theresa, so much for coming on my channel and talking about UX internships, living in the Bay Area.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Bye. Killed it.
I feel like I just like talked a lot.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I was like, blah, blah, blah,